Good morning. I see one who's here. Steve?
That's me, yes. How are you, Ken?
Okay. All right. Harvey, what do you say, Harvey? You there? Anybody else?
I don't think he's here. No, he's not here.
Okay. Steve, when are you coming down?
We are planning to come down before the concert.
Okay. Couple weeks. Good.
Yep.
Very good. All right, learning sponsors. Year of Learning, Suanani Garelick in memory of Marco Proman and Philip Man. David ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Beryl ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Meir ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Henry Rivka Pro Rosen, Butz Arav Tzvi Hirsch, in memory of family murdered in the Holocaust, Arav Tzvi Hirsch ben Shlomo Yaakov, Sarah bat Ephraim, Yisrael David ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Ephraim ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Adia bat Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Miriam bat Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Pesel bat Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Shalom ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Shlomo Yaakov ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Shmuel ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Marsha Federbush and family, in memory of her husband, Dr. Uriel Paul Federbush, Uriel Pinchas ben Arav Shimon, Sharon and Fred Liska, their family and many friends, in memory of her dear mom, Harriet Friedman Elbat Yaakov, Leslie and Gail Kaplan, in memory of their parents, Harry and Marjorie Sedell Irving and Pearl Kaplan, friends of Avi Gitler, Avramea Ben Shimon and Martha Gitler, China Bat Yeshaya, children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren of Toby Paris, Saratova Bat Yisrael Dov in her memory, friends of Joe Wolf, Yosef Ben Chaim, Charlie Gelfenstein and Sam Levine, in memory of Ramona Levine, Rachel Mata Bat Asher. A Month of Learning by Phyllis and Chaim Reese in memory of her mother, Malka Bat Zeb, Sam and Shifra Coleman in memory of his mother, Sarah Rachel Bas Avram. Let's somebody speak to Sam. Maybe we can get him to come back. Charlie Gelfenstein in memory of his mother, Dacia Gilbas Meir Halevi, Boca Babes in memory of their dear friend, Susan Wortman, Chaya Sarah Bat Alta Yosef. Chaim, by the way, that's the sisterhood, if people weren't aware of that. Yeah, that's their name for other reasons. Chaim and Phyllis Reese in memory of his father, Mordechai ben Yom Tov Lipa, Clara and Jonas Wazer, in memory of her mother, Chana Bas Getzen. That's it. None for today. May Hashem is heaven aliyah, crank Rafia, Velti Shir Shem Ataliah, and the Chol B'nai Israel, a good Gebench Tiyah.
Amen.
Anybody else on there? Okay.
I don't think so.
All right. We're on Kaf Vav Amud Aleph, I hope, right? Okay. So we went through yesterday the top of the Amud, Miktsatan Yasu Edim, question of if you have a situation where you have both, the moon was seen by both the issue of members of the Beis Din, and the whole issue of whether some of them could act as witnesses, some of them act as judges, all right? So that's where we were left off, that some of them could be the witnesses and some could, and like the judges, Divrei Rabbi Tarfon, that was the view of Rabbi Tarfon. On the other hand, that was not the view of Rabbi Akiva, which is what the Gemara said, right? Omer Kulan Nesin Edim, they're all witnesses, Ve'en Eid Ne'aseh Dayan. And a witness cannot become a judge. All right. Afilu tema Rabbi Akiva. But the Gemara answers, no. You could even say that our text is according to Rabbi Akiva. Ad kan lo kama Rabbi Akiva, that Rabbi Akiva gave this opinion. Okay. Hatam in that case. Okay. Ela b'dinei nefashot d'rachmana ama. Why did he say that if witnesses can't become judges? Only regarding dinei nefashot. Okay, all right. So what was the situation? What is he saying? Right? I feel it right. V'shaftu. Why? Because the pasuk says, according to the Torah, v'shaftu ha'edah v'tzilu ha'edah. Understanding the pasuk to say that the same Beis Din that is going to commit is able to acquit. Okay. And so therefore, that's the point of the pasuk, and therefore kevan dechaziyuhu, the katal nafsha, because since they saw the individual commit a killing, lo matzu chazele zichuta, then it would imply that they would not be able to be difficult for them to come up with any kind of acquittal, right? Aval hacha here afilu Rabbi Akiva modeh, but in our case, we could say, which is not a capital case, but is a financial issue, but more or less, well, I was going to say, where we might have compared it to a financial issue, but here it's not even a financial issue. It's testimony on seeing the moon. We could say it is different. And Rabbi Akiva could be modeh. Thank you. Okay, now let's go to a new Mishnah. Now we're going to blow our horn. Okay? We're going to, I know, we're going to get to that in a second. Okay, so what happens? Let's imagine the following. We've got a variety of animals, okay, that all have something coming out of their head, okay? And we're not referring to rhinoceri, okay? What do we have instead? We've got cows, we've got the deer, we've got ibex, and the ibex is very important here, okay? Especially the fact if you use it all Koren, you will see it has a picture of a Nubian ibex, which was a kind of animal that was frequent in the entire Middle East. Okay, so keep that in mind. Why? Because the eye horn of the ibex is straight as opposed to being curved. And now as we go into the Gemara, if we keep that item in mind, I think we can flow through the Gemara. Which one? Well, that's as opposed to like this.
Oh, I see, okay.
Okay, all right. I once, just a quick story as we go into the Gemara, I once bought for my synagogue the shofar in Israel, okay, one of the big, long, curved ones, and it wouldn't fit in a suitcase. So I had to have them wrap it up and put it like something to carry it over my shoulder. And I had to imagine when I was flying back through Italy, through Rome, and I get to the airport in Rome, and I have to pass it through the scanner, okay, on the belt, okay, and I see an Italian policeman come over, walk over to the, to look closely what's being gone through. And I overhear someone from the Italian Customs Authority looks at it and looks at the policeman and goes, oh. Like that. And then explain to him in Italian what it is. Anyway, I did get it through customs, even in the States too. Okay, anyways, so that.
I had the rule of what thought.
Yeah.
Laid down, went through, and they said, okay, it's approved, you can take it, but tell us what it is.
Yeah, okay, good. All right, so now we're getting into this whole discussion of what is a shofar, what is a horn, are they the same thing, are they different things? Okay, what animals, okay? So, Matnitin, our Mishnah says, Kol ha-shofarot ksherim, all shofarot, I'm not going to translate it otherwise, are valid, chutz mishel para, with the exception of that of a cow. All right, bell rings to tell us. Mipnei shehu keren, because it is considered, Koren's translation was a horn. Okay, I'm guessing Art Scroll did the same. Okay, so what then is the difference between a shofar and a horn? Okay, the Gemara has got a problem with this issue too. Amar Rabbi Yossi, says Rabbi Yossi, v'halo kol ha-shofarot nikra'u keren, but aren't all shofarot also considered like a horn? Shneimar, as we cite a pasuk, b'meshoch b'keren hayovel, as the sounding of the horn of the Jubilee year. Gemara. What? Okay. Okay, well, we're going to get to that. We're not there yet. Okay. Gemara. Shapir ka'amar Rabbi Yossi. Congratulations. Well said, Rabbi Yossi. Why? V'Rabbanan. But what about the view of the rabbis? Kol hashofarot akru shofar va'akru keren. But according to the rabbis, all shofarot are either, I'm going to say, called shofar, or they're called keren, a horn. The para, keren akre. That of the cow is called a keren, a horn. Shofar, lo akre, but it is not called a shofar. Dichtiv, why? Because it's written, Bechor shoro hadar lo v'karnei ra'em karnav. Again, a pasuk using it as a proof that the one is called from the shore. Okay, one is called the Karen, one is not. All right, so Rabbi Yossi Amar, what would Rabbi Yossi say in regards to this pasuk? De para nami akre shofar. That of the para could also be called a shofar. Why? Dichtiv v'teitav lashem mishor par. Okay, again a pasuk that it is increased, grown for Hashem from the shore, from a shore which we call normally an ox, all right, to par, all right, to a bull. Okay, what do we mean by shore par? Im shore lama par. If we say it's an ox, why do we call it a bull? V'im par, and if we say it's a bull, lama shore. Why do we call it an ox? Elamai shore par. What do we mean by these two phrases together? Mi shofar. Okay, all right. So it's really a drash. Okay, v'Rabbanan. So this was Rabbi Yossi's argument. Okay, v'Rabbanan, and it's again according to the rabbis, kid the Rav Matna. They hold like Rav Matna. The Amar Rav Matna, who says Ma'i shor par. What do we mean by this phrase there in the pasuk? Shahu gadol kipar. All right, that it is an animal that by the age of 3, an ox by the age of 3 reaches the size of a bull. That's his explanation. Ula Amar, says Ula, throwing in his end, Hainu Tama the Rabbanan. This is the rationale of the rabbis. Kid the Rav Chisda, according to the view of Rav Chisda, the Amar Rav Chisda, who says, Mipnei ma ein kohen gadol nichnas b'bigdei zahav lefanai v'lefnim la'avod avodah. What's the reason that the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur cannot enter the Kodshei Kadoshim while wearing his golden garments? Remember that, you Kohanim there sitting on the side there. Okay, what's the reason? Lafisha ein kategor ne'eses sanigor. Because one who is you can't make a prosecutor, or you can't take a defender, can't also be a prosecutor. Okay, and since we're talking about the golden calf, which was the example of a negative prosecution act against the Jewish people, they can't defend the Jewish people on Yom Kippur in that case. V'lo? No, says the Gemara. V'ha'ika dam par. But don't we have the example of this dam par, the blood of the bull that is used as part of the process of Oda on Yom Kippur, right? And that's done where? Inside the Kodshei Kadoshim. Ho'il v'ishtane. But since it's changed its form, okay? All right, in other words, we're not having the animal, we're just using its blood, and therefore that's a changed form, therefore it would be changed. But I'll come up with another example, says the Gemara. Inside the Beis Hamikdash, what do we have? V'ha'ika aron, v'kaporet, ukruv. We've got all these items, right? The ark, the kaporet, the ark covering, and the kruv, and all of them are plated with gold. And therefore that gold stuff is inside, right? What about all those? Okay, chote bal yakriv ka'amrin. What we're saying is that the person who commits a sin, that person cannot have any gold items with them. That's what we're saying. V'ha'ika Kaf umachta. But what about the fact that maybe they're being used here, the spoon and the coal pan? They're plated with gold. They're used inside the Beis Hamikdash. How can? All right. All right. All right. Kadoshim. And that's for the benefit of the chote. So what happens, right? Chote bal yitna'eh kamrin. We say that the sinner cannot adorn himself with gold items and gold. Baha ika big day zahav mi bachutz. But then we would say that we've got golden items that the Kohen Gadol wears when he's outside. Okay, even if he's not inside. Bifnim ka'amrinan. We're talking about being inside. Shofar nami mi bachutz. Who? But what about the fact that we sound the shofar outside? And we're going to hear what is the style of the shofar in just a moment. Kevan de lezikaron hu kibifnim dami. Even though the shofar is sounded outside, okay, since it's done for the remembrance. Why do we call Yom HaZikaron is Rosh Hashanah? Okay? Or Yom, when it's on Shabbos, Yom Zichron Truah. Okay, so therefore that's the implication. Okay, it's as if it is inside. So Gemara picks up and says, Vahatana, but aren't we taught elsewhere? Mipnei shehu keren ka'amar, that we said because it's a keren, a horn, it's not acceptable. Chada va'od ka'amar. Okay, we're talking one thing, and then we add a second additional reason. Chada, on the first hand, the ein kategor ne'ases senigor. Prosecutor can't become a defender. Secondly, va'od, and further, mipnei shehu keren, because it is considered and called a horn. Rabbi Yossi amarlach. But again, Rabbi Yossi would argue with us and say, the ka'amart, ein kategor na'ases senigor, when you say prosecutor can't become defender, hani mili mi bifnim, we're talking about something that does regarding inside the Kodshe Kadoshim, right? Bahai shofar mi bachutzu, and the shofar is blown outside. Udeka amart mipnei shehu keren, right? And when you say that it's because it's a horn, right, called a horn, kol shofarot nami yakru keren. All shofarot are also at times called a horn. Abayima. So Abai then says, Hainu ta'amai hu derabanan. These are the reasons that the rabbis give. Number one, shofar amam rachmana, right? That we say it's got to be a shofar. Velo shnayim, it's got to be a single, right? And not multiple, not two, ushlosha, or three shofarot. Vahadapara, kevan dekai gilde. But the horn of a cow, because it comes in layers, okay, right? It goes around. Mitchaze kishnayim ushlosha shofarot. It would appear as if we might consider it like 2 or 3 shofarot. Vahatana. But wait a second, says the Gemara. Aren't we taught also the following bright? Mipnei shehu keren, because it's a horn, ka'amar. That's what was said. Again, chada va'od ka'amar. Okay, one and another answer. Chada, the shofar, echad, one, because it has to be a single shofar. Amar Rachmana, says the Torah. Velo shnayim v'shlosha shofarot, and not 2 or 3 shofarot. Va'od, and furthermore, mipnei shehu keren, because it's considered a horn. Now let's go on. The Rabbi Yossi amalach. Again, Rabbi Yossi would argue and present his view. Dika amart shofar echad amar Rachmana. When you say that we're talking about a single shofar according to the Torah, velo shnayim ushlosha shofarot, and not 2 or 3 shofarot, kevan de mechabre ahadade, since they are attached one to another, chadhu, it's as if it is a single one. Right? Furthermore, udika amart mipnei shehu keren, and when you say the second reason that it's simply a horn, kol hashofarot nami akru keren. All of the shofarot are called keren. Now, let's go on. My mashma, tahai yovla, lishna dedachra. How do we know, asks the Gemara, since we had a pasuk that referred to Keren and Yovel, how do we know that the phrase Yovla actually refers to, right, to is the language referring to a ram? How do we know this? By the way, a side note that in Arabic, it's not the case, but in Canaanite, which the word Yovla is based on the Punic language that was recited in Carthage, which is thought to be the origin of the Canaanite community. And in that language, Yovla actually does mean ram. Okay?
That's a footnote.
Correct. Okay. But it's an interesting element to tell us, okay, that there is a language that clearly does have the word Yovla, okay, to mean ram.
Why would you dispute? Gemara says it.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. But what happens to Tanya? No, the Gemara is asking the question. The Tanya is taught in the Braita, right? Amar Rabbi Akiva, says Rabbi Akiva. Now we get to see, okay, what kind of passports the rabbis had when they traveled outside Eretz Yisrael. Okay? Number one, Rabbi Akiva says, when I went to Arabia, Hayu Karim Ledachra Yovla. He learned what part of Arabia we don't know, but they called the ram Yovla. Va'amar Rabbi Akiva, apparently he did a lot of traveling. Halachti Legalia, when I went to Galia, which okay, Gaul could be. Okay? Hayu Karim Lenida Galmuda. They would call a woman who was in Nida Galmuda. My Galmuda, what do we mean Galmuda? Gimula da miba'ala, that she is separated from her husband. They can't have relations. Furthermore, va'amar Rabbi Akiva kasher halachti la'afriki, when I went to Africa. Okay, he really got around a lot, Rabbi Akiva. Huh? Never knew that. Hayu korin lama'a lamea kshita. They would call the phrase mea for 100, right? A coin, a coin.
A sixth of a dinar.
Okay, and they would call it kshita. Lamai nafkamina. So what's the reason for this? How important is it for it to know these language? Okay, mea kshita with frushek mea krita, because we have a pasuk that uses the phrase mea kshita. Okay, the oraita, according to the Torah, ma'a denake. All right, so that it is consider that. Okay, Amar Rebbe says Rebbe, he's got to keep up with Rebbe Akiva now, right? Kashe halachti lekarche hayam. When I used to go out on a sea voyage, right, to see the cities along the coast. Okay, hayu korin lemechira kira. They would call a purchase kira. Lamai nafkamina. What's the purpose of learning this language? Lefrushe asher kariti li, to explain a pasuk that has the phrase which was purchased, right? Amar Reish Lakish, kashe halachti letchum kan nishraya. And when I went to the district of Kan Nishraya, hayu karin lechala, they would call a bride ninfi, a ninfi. Why? Uletarnego sechvi, and they would call a rooster sechvi, right? Lekala ninfi. Why did they call a bride ninfi? Maikra, right? Yafen nof mesos kol haaretz. Just like the beautiful view from the mountaintop, so the bride is beautiful. All right? Uletarnego sechvi, and why do they call it sechvi? Amar Rav Yehuda, said Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav, in the name of Rav, Ibayat Eman. You might ask Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, Maikra, what do they call it? me shat betuchot chachma o mi natan lesechvi vina. Okay, and we're all familiar with that phrase from the davening too. Okay, so mi shat betuchot. Okay, chachma, who floats along the water with wisdom. Ele klayot. That's the kidneys that help pass the water from the body. Right? Right? Oh, minatan lesechvi vina, zet tarnegol, the fact that he has the wisdom on his own to have the knowledge when to crow. Right? Levi ikle lahahu atra. Levi came to a certain place. Ata gavri lekame, and a person came before him. Amarle, and he said to him as we go to the Amud Beis, right? Kava'an palnaya. Okay? A certain person, right? Fixed, established, right? Was robbed in me. Okay. All right. He did something to me. In this case, we're going to say rob, stole, right? All right. La havak yadei mai ka'amale. And our friend here, who was it? Levi didn't know what he was talking about. He didn't understand. Okay. All right. Now, what happens? Ata Sha'il Be Midrashi. He went to the base Midrash and asked. Now, remember that from the Masorah, I think, was that Chachmei, the Sanhedrin, had to know multiple languages. Okay? And so what happens? Ata Sha'il Be Midrash. Amrule Gazlan. Okay, he said what he was talking about is things were stolen from him. Amar Lach. Okay, so what happened? Dichtiv, as it says, Hayikva Adam Elogim Rechomer, and following, right? Amarle Rava mi Barnish, the Rav Ashi. And Rava from Barnish said to Rav Ashi, Ihavai Hatam, if I were there, he says, Hava Aminale, I would have said to him, to this person, Hechi Kava'ach, how did he rob you? B'mai kavach, with what did he rob you? In other words, what manner? V'amai kavach, and why did he rob you? Umimela haviyadina, and therefore I would have known. Okay? Ve'ihu, but the other, namely Levi, Savar, was of the opinion, milta de isura ka'amarle, that when he used the phrase, he was talking about a totally different topic. Okay, something with regard to Isur Vehet. Now, lo havuyade Rabbanan ma'i sirugin. And now we understand that there was a rather phrase that the rabbis weren't aware of, and the phrase was sirugin. And we're going to see that the housekeeper, I'm going to call her, to the Rebbe was apparently familiar with multiple languages. Okay? So that's why if those of us here in the village who use a Spanish-speaking housekeeper, learn a little Spanish, all right? My sirugin, what do we mean sirugin? Shamuha lim amta debe Rabbi, the woman, female servant, I'll call her the housekeeper, of Rebbe, the chasatanhu Rabbanan, dahavu aile piske, that she saw that the rabbis were entering, I'm going to call it one at a time, right, in groups, okay? But there was a break in between, okay? Amra laho, she said to them, Ad matayatem nichnasim, sirugin. Why are you entering intermittently? Okay? Lo havu yade rabbanan, mai chalog logot. The rabbis didn't know what the meaning of the term chalog lugot was. Yom echad, one day, shamuha la'amata debei Rabbi. Again, the housekeeper of Rebbe heard the chazit lahahu gavra. Okay, she heard them saying this, and she saw what? They heard her say to somebody that she saw a certain person, a certain man, hahu gavra, the kamivader par pachine, that he was scattering around leaves of purslane. Okay, by the way, purslane is a vegetative growth that could be cooked, used in salads, and is still eaten as well. All right. Amrale ad matai atam mefazer chalog lagoch. Until what point do you spread out this chalog lagoch? So that's another name from another location for that vegetation. Another example. Lo hayu yadei rabbanan. The rabbis didn't know mai salsala utrumamcha. This phrase again, right from a pasuk. Yom echad, one day, shamuha la'amta debei Rabbi. Right again, they heard that the housekeeper of Rabbi, dahavet amra lahahu gavra. All right, she heard her say to a certain person, dahavet kama hapech v'sare, that he was curling his hair. Okay, what happens? Amrale, and she said to him, ad matai payas. That's interesting. I don't know if that was the case. Ad matai atam mesalsel b'sa'arayim. At what point do you curl your hair? All right, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say he was curling his payas. Lo havu yadei rabbanan mai. Again, we have an example where the rabbis did not know. Okay, what was the phrase? V'ta'ata'ate b'mata'ate. All right, hashomed. Okay, what does that mean? Yom echad, one day. Right, Shamuha la'amta the Rebbe, the Bay Rebbe. All right, again they heard the housekeeper of Rebbe say the following: the Havat Amra lechaverta, that she was telling one of the other women servants, right? Shakule ta'ataya, ta'atita, v'ta'ate beta. Go take a broom and sweep up, okay, the area. All right, sweep up the house. Another example. Lo havu yadei rabbanan. The rabbis did not know. Mai hashlech el Hashem yahavecha v'hu yichalkelcha. An understanding for the pasuk. Okay, again, bring it to Hashem and he will provide, so to speak. Amar Rabba bar Barchan, he says, Yom Chad, one day, Hava Azlina Bahade, I was going, right? Bahahutaya, I was traveling, I'm going to say, with a certain Arab, right? Hava Darina Tuna, and I was carrying my load. Notice he was carrying it on his back, all right? Va'amarli, and the Arab said to me, Shakol Yahavich, take your pack and load it on, all right? Vishade agamalai, and put it on my camel. So in other words, from that he learned that the pasuk says when Hashem, okay, right, and Hashem, you put your burden to Hashem, and He will help you carry it for you. Okay. All right. Now let's get back to shofarot. Matnitin, says our Mishnah. No longer language discussion. Okay. Shofar shel Rosh Hashanah. Okay. What about the shofar of Rosh Hashanah in the temple, in the Beis Hamikdash, is what we're talking about. Okay. What did they use? All right. What did they use? Shel Yael Pashut, that it was from a straight horn of an ibex. Okay. But upiv mitzupa zahav, but the mouthpiece that was used, okay, that was put in at the tip of the, okay, no,
Band of gold
on
around
top of
the
it.
shoulder, just above the with the mouth.
We'll see. Okay, but the band of gold was put there around the mouth. Okay, all right. How, we'll see what happens. Furthermore, ushtei chatzotzrot, and two trumpets, minat stadim, were on either side of the, let's call them the baltakia, the shofar blower. Okay, so you had three standing there, one with the short ibex shofar, okay, and two with the trumpets. Think of I thought of this as when you see those medieval movies where they have the guys with the horns and da 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 da, that the king is coming. Okay, so what happens? Shofar ma'arich, the shofar sound was the long sound, right? V'chatzatzrot mikatzrot, and the trumpet sounds were short sounds. Shemitzvat hayom b'shofar, because the mitzvah was focusing on the shofar. However, Gemara continues, ubataniyot, but in regards to fast days, b'shel zicharim, they would use a shofar from a male ram, right? Which was curved, exactly. Kifufin, which was curved, rounded. Upihen mitzupa kesef, and around the mouthpiece of those were silver. Ushtei chatzotzrot be'emtza, and the two horns, the two trumpets, were in the middle. Okay, shofar mekatzeh, then the shofar sound was the shorter one. V'chatzotzrot ma'arichot, and the trumpet sounds, if I can use that term, or horn sounds, were the long ones. Shemitzvat hayom b'chatzotzrot, because the mitzvah for the day, for the tanis, was the trumpets, the horns. Now, what happens? We get further discussion. So we see, number one, Rosh Hashanah, the sounding of, number two, on a tanis, and number three, what was another occasion where we sound? Yovel, Yom Kippur of the Yovel. Let's go on. Shaveh hayovel l'Rosh Hashanah l'tkiyah l'brachot. According to this statement in the Gemara, the Yom Kippur of the Jubilee year, the sounding was the same or equal to Rosh Hashanah regarding the Kiyah sound and the blessing.
The Musaf was the same.
Well,
Musaf
we'll
as
see.
Rosh Hashanah, except the Sima.
We'll see in just a second. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Berosh Hashanah Tog'in B'Shel Zicharim, Ubiyovlot B'Shel Ya'alim. According to Rabbi Yehuda, on Rosh Hashanah, we used a shofar of a ram, and for Yovel, we use from a ibex. Okay? Now, so there's a difference here from Rabbi Yehuda's view from what we saw before. Gemara, let's come back. Amar Rabbi Levi. Says Rabbi Levi as follows, the following. Mitzvah shel Rosh Hashanah v'shel Yom HaKippurim b'kfufin, that the mitzvah for Rosh Hashanah, okay, and regarding Yom Kippur was to use a curved shofar. Okay, v'shel kol Hashanah, but the rest of the year, in other words, for the fast days, he argues, Rabbi Levi, b'pshutin, in a simple and uncurved, straight. Okay, what now? Did they blow shofar on Rosh Chodesh? I don't think so. That's right. Tichu b'shofar. Right? Okay. Vahatnan, but aren't we taught elsewhere in the Mishnah? Shofar shel Rosh Hashanah shel Ya'el Pashutu, that the shofar used on Rosh Hashanah was for a basically a straight ibex horn. Who Da'amar ki hai Tana, as was said by the following Tana, the Tanya, as taught in the Braita. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, says Rabbi Yehuda, the Rosh Hashanah hayu tok'in b'shel zicharim. On Rosh Hashanah, they sounded of the male ram, kfufin, curved ones, ubiyovlot, and on the Yovel, b'shel ya'alim, and on Yovel that of the ibex. Velema. So let us say, Hilchata Rabbi Yehuda. Let's say then that the law should be according to Rabbi
Say,
right,
our Rebbe,
Yehuda. So let's say what that the law ought to be according to Rabbi Yehuda. I amart Hilchata Rabbi Yehuda. If you're going to say the law is according to Rabbi Yehuda, Hava Amina, I would have thought and intended the following. Afilu shel Yovel, nami Rabbi Yehuda sevirale. That even for the Yovel, he would have also been of the perspective, the view of Rabbi Yehuda. Kamash Malan comes to teach us b'mai kamiflage. What are they arguing about here, basically? Right? Mar savar b'Rosh Hashanah, kama dechayef inish da'ate. One master held that on Rosh Hashanah, what? Right? Is he saying? That the more, I know Rashi comes here.
Rashi and Tosfos take, they don't have the word diet.
Right.
They turn it into a physical
Right.
stance.
Okay, well, I was going to explain it this way. One master held on Rosh Hashanah, the more a person is bent over, is contrite, is that way. Okay, right?
With the word daite, it means contrite, but without the word daite.
It just means physically bent over. Okay, right, right. So that's why Koren gives both explanations. Really. Okay. Fei ma'ale, that's to be preferred. That's superior. Ubiom hakipurim, kama de pashit inish, and whether date or not, the more a person is, let's call it upright, okay, in his heart, fei ma'ale, that it is more superior, more preferred. Umar savar, and the other hand, Rosh Hashanah, kama de pashit inish da'ate fei ma'ale. The more a person is upright, okay, it is to be preferred. Ubata'aniyot, but on the fast days, kama de chiyef inish da'ate, the more a person is bent over or contrite, fei ma'ale, and that is to be preferred. That is to be the better perspective. Okay, so we're going to stop there. And we'll pick up tomorrow on the top of Kaf Zayin, okay, to deal with this question of mouthpieces for a couple of reasons.
All right, 1 second.
Okay, that's where we'll pick up.
Have a good day. Thank you.
All right, everybody, take care. I think I'm going to adjust in the future. We'll adjust, see if we need to adjust the thermostat, because I have a feeling.
Freezing in here.
I have a feeling while you're going to have a class in here in about 40 minutes
Of ladies.
of ladies.
And they're gonna be freezing.
Right.
Matate is in modern Hebrew.
Is it-
room.
The,
That used to be my job one year in my house, my apartment in Israel.
to clean, sweep the floor.
Yeah, and wash it. But
Wash the floor. I would help sweep, but I wouldn't wash.
that was when I was a bit younger.
In that line.
Yeah,
So I always thought,
Bacher in Israel.
yeah.
I always thought that an ibex was some kind of circle.
An ibex is a cell phone.